Everything you need to know to have a really awesome time traveling by yourself. I'm doing this video and this topic today because I recently watched this video by Lost LeBlanc over on his 2 million subscriber channel about why he never travels alone. And in this video, he went to the British Virgin Islands and basically said he was doing a honeymoon quality or honeymoon level trip and really just kind of felt lonely at the beginning, but really enjoyed it at the end because he said this is the first solo trip he has taken in a long time. And so in today's video, I wanted to share my tips on traveling solo. I've certainly traveled a lot with my family, with OC Girl, my wife, with our daughter, with my parents, but I've also taken hundreds of trips by myself, and you know what? Both kinds of trips are equally rewarding, so don't feel like traveling by yourself is weird or somehow strange. It can be a totally awesome and rewarding experience. By the way, today's video is sponsored by Level 8 Suitcases. I'll be giving away one of their Voyager carry-on suitcases later in this live stream to somebody who can answer one of my questions. All right, the first thing, if you're planning a solo trip, and by the way, I like to have numbers, and so in this video, I've got, 27 different steps to an awesome solo travel trip. And so starting with number one, the first step, if you're thinking about going by yourself, planning a solo trip, is you need to decide what kind of solo trip you want. And so I put solo trips and people who are solo travelers into two categories. Do you want an introvert solo trip? And by the way, I consider myself an introvert, somebody who is totally fine being by themselves, doesn't need to be around other people. In that case, a solo introvert trip is going to be one where you don't need to plan a lot of activities. You don't need to plan being with other people because you're just totally good being by yourself. Or are you an extrovert like my daughter, the Spunky Princess right here, where you need to be with other people? You know, she just loves to go in the ball pits, and the more kids that are there, the better for her. And so you can travel by yourself and plan a lot of hangout activities, but we'll get into that in step two. So once you've decided what kind of traveler you are you somebody who wants to be by yourself, go to all the museums, see the movies, see the activities by yourself, or are you somebody who wants to go party it up and make a whole bunch of new friends? Well, then you're going to want to pick number two here, an appropriate destination. Chris, aren't all great travel destinations appropriate? Some are definitely better than others, depending upon what kind of traveler you are. And so introverts might want to pick places with lots of arts and cultural activities, places where you can also go on great hikes, nature, beaches, picking a place that has a lot of stuff that you like to do. Now, if you're an extrovert, then you're going to want to pick a place with more of a party scene, clubs and bars if that's what you're into, or maybe activities, sports, ball games, potentially a place with more of an international crowd. Extrovert travelers often have a hard time in one of my favorite destinations, which is Japan, because there is definitely a language barrier in Japan. And so many extrovert travelers who go to Japan say they have a hard time connecting with the locals and making new friends there just because of the language barrier. But you know what? Introvert travelers don't have that problem at all because they said, I didn't really want to connect with anybody anyway. I was just happy to go about my business without anybody talking to me. Now, on the note of Lost LeBlanc's video about why he never travels alone, he said he was doing a honeymoon level trip. You know, maybe if you don't want to feel lonely, don't go to a honeymoon level place. Don't go to Maui, the quintessential honeymooners island, because that might just make you feel a little bit lonely. The third thing you should do if you're planning a solo trip is then research your destination. I mean, you're watching Yellow Productions here on YouTube, so you're probably someone who researches your destination. But in particular, since, you know, you're traveling by yourself, you're not traveling with a group, groups bring safety, you should research the parts of your destination that you should not go to. You should research those no-go zones. And here in downtown Los Angeles, there's some no-go zones. Like, you don't want to go to Skid Row in downtown Los Angeles. And so it's worthwhile looking on a map, researching it, and figuring out what those places are so you don't inadvertently stumble across them. Oh, by the way, and if you want to play a fun game as I'm going through this video, as I put up these pictures, I'm going to take a little while before I describe what it is or what we're looking at so you can be like, what is that place? And that's courtesy of Bill Wu, who suggested I should wait a little while before I introduce these pictures because he thought it was fun to try to think about where these things are. All right, the fourth thing you are going to want to do planning a solo trip is you are going to want to choose not just a destination that suits you, but also a hotel style that suits you. There are so many different types of hotels, and really they cater to different people and make a huge difference about your trip being the base that you stay in. If you haven't traveled much, you might think that every hotel is like a Holiday Inn, rooms that look the same with really pretty boring but functional lobbies. And it turns out that there's a lot more different types of hotels out there. In particular, if you want to be at a place with a lot of activities, a lot of other people, you might want to book a resort hotel. This is the JW Marriott Palm Springs, which we have an upcoming video review of, or actually Desert Springs. Resorts have activities you can join, like morning yoga or stand-up paddleboarding lessons, which will be activities where you can meet and mingle with other potential solo travelers. Now, my wife, OC Girl, who definitely considers herself an introvert, really likes hotels with fun lobby areas because she likes to sit there, enjoy the live music, not to chit-chat with other people, but in fact to be there on her laptop writing a blog or writing something, but just being in that environment gives her some energy around all those people in that lively place. Now, one tip with hotels, something you should avoid as a solo traveler. You definitely want to avoid hotels or lodging that has a single traveler surcharge. Cruise ships are notorious for having a solo traveler surcharge because they base their things on double occupancy, and if you're single, then they're going to charge you more because they don't make as much money on food and things like that if you're only occupying the room yourself. And by the way, I see in the chat people said, I think it's Palm Springs, and so Cal Seth says he has stayed right there. That's awesome. All right, I love to see a lot of the good guesses on these pictures. And Phil says OC Girl has a blog. She sure does. ocgirl.net if you want to check that out. All right, the fifth thing you definitely want to do if you're planning a solo trip is, once you've picked your hotel, know how to get to your hotel before you get to your destination. Have a plan and stick to it, and really think about what works for you as that plan as a solo traveler. Bus might be the cheapest option, but maybe not the safest, depending upon where the buses go, where you have to pick it up. There are also lots of scam artists that hang out around airports in many parts of the world, and also train stations. And so beware in the train station of the person who wants to help you buy tickets in the train station, because they're going to single you out as a solo traveler. You've got your luggage, you're by yourself, you're an easy target for them to help, and help themselves to a little bit of your money from your pocket or your purse while they're helping you with that ticket machine. You always want to look like you know where you're going. You never want to look like you are lost. And so taxi or rideshare can be expensive ways to get from airports to your hotels, but often a really good option because it gets you from the safe part of the airport to the safe part of your hotel in a way that just gets you right there. Now, if I'm in a place that I don't know and I'm worried about the taxi driver not taking me to the right place or taking me to a different place, I've always got Google Maps up on my phone, so I know the destination. I watch where we're going and make sure the place that we're going and the place I'm going to get dropped off at is the place I actually wanted to go. Now, the sixth thing that's really good to do as a traveler. Oh, by the way, that picture was the same JW Marriott in Palm Springs. Okay, right here. Okay, think about what that picture is. Right here, the sixth thing you want to do is you want to arrive to your destination in the daytime. Daytime arrivals are just the easiest. They're also the safest because it's easiest to get around in the day. You can see where you're going. The creepy elements, they generally come out at night. And if you're at a destination and you're traveling around, you're taking long distance trains, you're taking buses, do those in daytime hours. And also if you're wandering around at night, a lot of things are closed. And so it's just much easier to get around when everything is open. I like to plan my arrival at destinations when hotels open for check-in time, so that's usually around 3 or 4 p.m. I generally, if I can, time my flight so I get to the destination right about the time. Whatever you do, if you get to a destination early, you get to Paris at 6 a.m., don't spend your day dragging your luggage around the city. You are just inviting thieves to come up to you because, again, you're an easy target. You can't pay attention to taking your photos. Plus your luggage, get to your hotel, drop your luggage off, keep it someplace that's safe, and then go around the city. Now, if you can't avoid arriving late at night, if your flight just gets in at midnight, then consider staying in an airport hotel. Many big international airports around the world have hotels right in the airport terminal. We recently stayed at one in Vancouver. There's a Fairmont hotel there because we had an early flight out the next morning, but we've also done it on Tokyo in Haneda Airport when we've had a midnight arrival. Just spend the night in the airport hotel and then go out the next day. And by the way, this picture right here, I've seen a few people in the chat get it right, that it was In-N-Out Burger, and then Kathy says, yes, it's the In-N-Out Burger by LAX, because you can see the plane right up there. Very good. Yes, Elegance with Alfredo says, don't stay around the train station Gare du Nord, which is in Paris. It's really ghetto. Yeah, many train stations in Europe, the area around them, really pretty sketchy, particularly at night, so much better in the daytime. And then Cottage Full of Love says, yes, cheap flights often land early, 6 a.m., and then hotels say check-in at 4 p.m. So annoying indeed. Now, the double pro tip on that is if you really want to make sure you check in your hotel early, you can always book the night before. Like, you can book a previous night and email the hotel and be like, hey, I'm not coming in the night before. I'm coming really early, but I want to reserve that. The other option, what I like to do, I just email the hotels or call them and say like, hey, I know you can't guarantee it, but I would like to request an early check-in if you have one available. And most hotels, maybe that aren't French. I say not French because, French and maybe even Japanese hotels are kind of like sticklers to the check-in time. But in a lot of places in the world, if you say, hey, I'm coming in early, they will try their best to have a room ready for you early. All right. The 7th tip you'll want to do as a solo traveler is you're going to want to plan out a basic agenda before you go to your destination. You got 5 days at a destination. I don't mean you need the most detailed Excel spreadsheet in the world, but what I mean is that you should have 1 or 2 things that you want to do every day. And maybe it's not so well defined that you're like, I get there Monday and this is what I do on Monday, but you're like, if you got 5 days, you've charted out about 5 mornings and afternoons worth of stuff, and then you can kind of mix and match those in different days. If you've seen the movie Lost in Translation with Bill Murray, where he's in Tokyo, he's staying at the Park Hyatt Tokyo, and every day he just looks out his window at this foreign country, doesn't know what to go, doesn't know where to go, doesn't know what to do, and so just ends up spending his time lonely in his hotel room. And so you don't want to be that. And you don't have to stick to your plans, but at least if you have one, you won't wake up wondering any morning what you're going to do that day. And then because you don't have friends, where are you going to go? Yes, and Kitty Winter says the picture right there, it is an airplane. Very good. That was an airplane on our way to Hawaii as the Spunky Princess was looking at her safety card right there to make sure she was a safe traveler. All right. I'll give you pro points if anybody can tell me where this map is from. All right, so the 8th thing you're going to want to do is you are going to want to print out maps and names of destinations, particularly to your hotel, particularly in the local language, so that if you can't communicate, then you can just show the taxi driver or you can show somebody, I want to go here. And so if you're going to Japan, don't print out the paper in English that says the name of the hotel because they might have no idea what the English actually looks like. Print it out in the local language. Now, if you're already at a destination, many hotels will have cards in their local language that you can pick up from the front desk or concierge that are like take me to cards, that the card will say, take me to this hotel, here's the address, that you can show to a taxi if you really get in a bind. And you might be thinking, Chris, I've got rideshare, I've got Uber, I've got Lyft, I'll just use my phone. I don't got Grab, I don't need to show it to them. You know what? Your phone could get stolen, your battery can run out, a piece of paper, nothing's ever going to happen to that, and you can always show that to people to try to get back to your lodging and your hotel. When I was in Korea, when I was in Seoul, the first time I went to Seoul, I was staying at the Sheraton Walker Hill Hotel, and I was asking the taxi drivers to take me back to the Sheraton. There's only one Sheraton in Seoul, but for the life of me, they did not know what the Sheraton is. They knew it as the Walker Hill Hotel that was then later renamed the Sheraton, and it's like I handed them, after trying in English for a little about the Sheraton, then I handed them the card, and then they were like, oh, Walker Hill, Walker Hill. Every time I would hand them the card, they would say Walker Hill, but if I tried Sheraton Walker Hill, no luck, no dice, but they could read it off the card. And Rob says Sheratons are great, and it bought out our local Adams Mark. All right, let's see. I see some guesses on this map. San Diego Zoo, Denmark, Hollywood Walk of Fame. Yeah, no dice on this one. This map is at this shopping mall in Costa Mesa, California, that I've got a video coming out soon that I've titled The Weirdest Shopping Mall in America. It's called The Lab. It's an anti-mall, and so this is what the map at the Lab anti-mall looks like. The ninth thing you're going to want to do for a great solo trip is you are going to want to know, not just to print out the names and maps for destinations, but then on the day you're going, know how to get there. And again, by knowing how to get there, I don't mean looking at the map, but I mean like in your head when you leave your hotel room, knowing all the things you're going to do to get there. You're going to walk out of the hotel, you're going to turn left, you're going to find the subway, you're going to take the blue line to this place, you're going to go 5 stops, you're going to get out. When you get out, it's a 6, 10, 20-minute walk. You're going to roughly know what that walk is, so that when you get out into the big city, you're not standing around with your big maps, with your tourist book that screams, I'm a tourist. You're gonna look like you know where you're going because, in fact, you studied where you're going, and so you look like you know where you're going. If you do need to consult your map for a long time, or you do need to consult your travel book, this is when I would encourage you to go to a cafe, go to a restaurant, sit down in a place that's safe and have 4 walls, and then go ahead and open those and look at them. I would say the same thing if you need to study Google Maps for a long time. You probably don't want to be studying Google Maps for a long time while you're standing on the street corner, because people are going to look at that and look at you and be like, you don't know where you're going, do you? Well, let me follow you around to help relieve you of some of your belongings as you're looking around. If you do need to use Google Maps to get walking directions, I would then encourage you to have some Bluetooth earbuds, and you can put these in your ear, your Samsung Buds or your Apple AirPods, and listen to the walking directions as they're given to you on your phone, with your phone in your pocket or your purse, instead of looking at the map as you walk. That'll help you seem a lot more like you know where you're going, because you're going to just have a friend, Google Maps, telling you where to go. All right, and this picture is in Korea of the, what do we got right here? This is the interconnected railway from Seoul to Pyongyang, the train that runs from South Korea to North Korea. The train doesn't run all that often, in case you're wondering, but there's the map for it. The 10th thing you're going to want to do to have a really great solo travel experience is when you're taking taxis, to pick up taxis from legit places. The airport taxi rank in front of a major hotel. If you're staying at that major hotel, look, even if you aren't staying at that major hotel, how do they know? If you walk into the hotel's lobby and then walk back outside, you're a guest at the hotel. They're not going to ask you if you stay there. They just assume you stay there. Hey, can I get a taxi? Great. And if you're in a place that has a language barrier, have the hotel staff inform the taxi driver where you want to go. When we were in Bangkok, Thailand a few years ago, Yeah, we were taking the taxis there are like the kings of scam artists as far as taxi drivers go. Number of really great stories about how the taxi drivers tried to scam us, but they are notorious for not starting the meter. And so when we were at the hotel, because we'd get into taxis and they wouldn't start the meter, and they'd start driving, and we'd be like, you need to start the meter. And they're like, we're not going to start the meter. And we're like, okay, well then stop. You need to let us out of the car. We're not going to let you out of the car. You're going to pay this much. I'm going to take you this place. You need to stop the taxi. And so we got to the point, and this worked out really well, and we do this all the time now in countries where we don't speak the language, is we ask the hotel staff to tell the taxi driver where we're going and to start the meter, and then we don't get into the taxi until the meter's actually been started. And Alexander says right here, this is Oxford Street in London. This is Oxford Street in London. Well done, Alexander. And that's one of the great London black taxis. All right. Nunu says, the idea to listen to the headphone for directions from Google is just brilliant. I hope you put it to good use, Nunu. All right. The 11th tip is to consider a car service. You know what? You don't just have to take taxis and you don't have to take rideshare, but you can consider getting a car with a driver. This is a way, when we're in Thailand, we got away from a lot of the taxi scam artists. We just hired a driver for the day that came along with a car. Also great in Taiwan. We're going to be taking a trip to Taiwan later this year, and we're also, for the days that we're going to go out and about to take day trips, we're just going to hire a car and driver. A lot easier for us than renting our own car, trying to figure out where we're going. We'll just have the locals do it. And great. This yellow thing. What is this? Brandon says this is my yellow car. Colleen says it's Chris's yellow car. This was Chris's yellow car. This is now my dad's electric car. This car has been passed down to Electric Rick. So if you see this one driving around San Diego, well, you might very well find my dad in this car. All right. The 12th thing right here is you're going to want to consider getting international data when you are out and about. And if you're trying to guess where this picture is, it's like a coffee shop someplace. But I took it here because the Spunky Princess really likes a phone. She, we have our phones, and so she really likes her phone too. Although when she was 1 or 18 months, that phone was good enough, and now it has to be a real phone. Now it has to be a phone with data. If it's just YouTube and it's not connected, I mean, it's the same 10 videos all the time. But not just for you, not just for your kids. International data is really valuable so that you can text or call if you're in a bind, so you can pull up Google Maps, so you can search terrain directions, you can figure out where you're going, you can figure out if some place is open. Like Google Maps or Apple Maps really revolutionized knowing where you are and not getting lost. So whether it's getting international data through your cell phone provider, just calling them up and saying, hey, I'm going to be going someplace, and it might be kind of expensive, but it might be kind of worth it because then you don't have to get like a SIM card or something like that. Or what we also like to do, and this is popular in a lot of Asian countries, is you get like a Wi-Fi, like a pocket Wi-Fi sometimes they call it, which is just like a little battery operated device that has Wi-Fi. It has a cell connection, and then you can connect your phones or devices to it, which is great if you've got a number of people. We'll probably do that when we go to Japan, so I can connect Spunky Prince's phone, OC Girl's phone, my phone, all to this to get some good data. Elegance with Alfredo says, I think the international data plans they offer are horrible. Just buy a SIM card. See, it depends on the country. If you go to Japan, you cannot just buy a SIM card. There's a whole process to do that. Depends on the country. So, you could potentially buy a SIM card. And also, Elegance with Alfredo, if you have T-Mobile, then T-Mobile actually offers unlimited international data depending upon where you're going. So it really depends on the provider. Kathy says she pays $5 extra for her cell phone provider. So it depends where you are, depends what part of the world. But me, $5 a day, I would just pay that because that's a lot easier than all of the other options. And Lindsay says pocket Wi-Fi sounds very clutch, super valuable. The other part that's useful about the pocket Wi-Fi devices, regardless of where you're going, Japan, Korea, different, where international to you, is cell phones run on different bands. And so in many countries, you might find the best cell phone bands that have the best service aren't on the cell phone you have from your country. And so you can kind of research that as you're researching a pocket Wi-Fi. All right. The 13th thing that you're going to want to do for a successful solo trip is have appropriate luggage that you can carry by yourself, that you can put in the overhead bin by yourself, and that you can keep your eyes on. You don't want to be overwhelmed by your stuff. Be particularly careful with backpacks. Make sure your backpack, best if it's one that can like stack on top of your luggage. That way you can put your luggage, maybe you got a backpack on, you got your luggage in a stack, and that way you've still got one hand to open doors. I will say, beware of taking luggage that looks too expensive. The Louis Vuitton luggage, you might want to leave that home because that's another one that just says a little something about you. When we travel, where's this picture right here? This is at the parking garage at LAX, which is right by the In-N-Out Burger that I showed you in the previous picture. All right. And Nunu says, a mini Yellow Productions bag for the little princess. Indeed, that's right. Actually, it turns out hers is, she's got her whole channel name right there on that shirt. She's got a whole wardrobe of Yellow Productions gear, yellow pants, yellow shoes, yellow bow, a full part of the crew. All right. The 14th thing you're going to want to do to have a successful solo trip is you are going to want to keep your belongings in sight. And when I say in sight, or in your hand is even better. Don't leave anything unattended or attended but out of sight, particularly your cell phone. Cell phone thievery is getting more and more common because people, when they eat, they like to leave their cell phone on their table. And that's an inviting thing for people just to come up and grab. So keep your cell phone in your pocket, in your purse, on your person, not just sitting on the table. Don't ask people to watch your stuff. Don't leave it on the seats of public transport. And by the way, phones, this is why we do leave one phone on the table. It's the phone for our daughter to watch cartoons on when we go to the restaurant, but it's not one of our phones. It's not my phone. It's not OC Girl's active phone. It's an older phone that I have that's just on Wi-Fi. If somebody steals it, there's nothing particularly important on it, and it's not connected to like any of our important stuff, so they can have at it with that phone. Yeah, and that's right. I picked this picture in particular because, if you've been watching the channel for a long time, you know Topher, and that was the original Topher right there, was grabbed in London. Because I put my stuff down next to me, like next to my leg, but I wasn't watching it the whole time, and so someone nicked my camera bag with Topher in it. All right. The 14th thing, we just did 14, 15th thing. The 15th thing you're going to want to do to have a great solo trip is, we're a little bit lodging now, is to consider not just hotels, but consider beds and breakfasts with hosts. And when I say bed and breakfast, I don't mean an Airbnb. I know that's become like the thing, Airbnb. But I mean like a true bed and breakfast, which is run by a person, a couple who make breakfast for you in the morning in their kitchen, because that's a really great way to connect with the locals. People who run bed and breakfasts, they want to talk to you if one of their guests. And we've had some really great local connections staying at bed and breakfasts. I will say bed and breakfasts are not my favorite, generally accommodation-wise, because I usually find the mattresses to be substandard and the bathrooms not to meet my, often my like bathroom level expectations, but I've always found the interactions with the people that run them to be quite charming and enlightening. Here we go, feels very good. And so is the Points Traveler. This picture is in Redondo Beach, yes, at the Redondo Beach Shade Hotel. And then Kathy says, we stayed at an Airbnb in New Zealand, not an Airbnb, a bed and breakfast in New Zealand, and it was amazing. Thank you for that report. Oh, and Blue Sky 7 says, Chris, what are you drinking today? Thank you. I'm thirsty. I should drink. Today, I am drinking a pure Rising Phoenix tea from Orobe, which is a tea shop here in Irvine, California, that specializes in tea that they make from they call it like a tea presso machine, or seems like an espresso machine, except they put the tea in it, and so it uses like high pressure hot water to make the tea. It's really Quite flavorful. And then a lot of these tea shops are, there's all these like complicated order things. So it's a large, and it's light sweet, and it has no ice, and you can get like all these different modifiers on it. But I don't like my tea to be too sweet. I'm drinking tea, not a soda. Yes, it's quite good. This is if you're coming to Irvine, you're in Southern California, you're looking for one of the best tea shops around. It's this place, Oro Bay. All right. The 16th thing you're going to want to do to have a really great solo travel trip is if you're at a hotel that has a concierge, chat with them. You know, the concierge is typically there as a person to give you advice, help you plan your day, help you figure out what you're doing. If I'm at a hotel that has a concierge and I've never been at the destination before, I always go chat with them. And I just say, hey, it's my first time in City XYZ. What do you recommend I do here? Well, have you been here before? What do you like? I have never been here before. You know what? Why don't you tell me? Hey, do you have a map? Maybe you could and they love to do this thing where they'll put a map out in front of you and draw on it and say hey, what do you recommend I do? Where do you recommend I go? The other thing I often ask a concierge is say hey, I'd like to see what's around the hotel. What do you recommend? What's a good route that I can walk just to see what's stuff around here? A story I have with this about why it's really valuable to talk to the hotel staff is I was staying in the south of France in the city of Marseille, and I was staying at the fabulous Holiday Inn in Marseille. It was not that fabulous, but I asked the concierge at the Holiday Inn, I'm like, hey, it's my first time here in Marseille. I want to go for a walk tonight. Where do you recommend I go for a walk? And the concierge goes, oh, well, let me tell you, from the hotel, you should walk out down this street, and then you should turn right and go to the marina and see the little marina right there, and that's it. Don't walk on any of these other streets. Just walk on this street and just walk on this street. Because apparently the side streets, not that safe. Super valuable to have that information. When we were in Tokyo last, which was 2019, before the world shut down, we were staying in the Hyatt Centric in Ginza. And the guy who was checking us in was a fabulously chatty French gentleman. Yes, a French gentleman working the front desk of a Hyatt in Tokyo. But I asked him, I'm like, and I've been to Tokyo a whole bunch of times, but I was like, hey, you know what? What do you, we don't have any plans today. And mind you, we always have plans. I was hey, we don't have any plans today. What do you recommend we check out? What's your favorite thing to see? And he was like, well, if you haven't been, I really recommend you go to the Starbucks Reserve in Nakameguro, which we'd never been to the Starbucks Reserve. We didn't know it existed in Tokyo, and it was truly an amazing find. And you know what? They might tell you something you already know. They might tell you something you don't want to do, but it doesn't hurt just to ask and hear the answer to the question. And you know what? Super pro tip is if there's different people at the concierge, you can go ask different people because they'll probably give you a little different answers too. They don't know that you just asked the last one 4 hours ago about what they recommend. Here, there's two. All right. And Rob says, if you find something new, always deviate. And then, of course, the question is, what's the picture right here? Is that the Hyatt Centric in Tokyo? This is not the Hyatt Centric in Tokyo. This is the Marriott County Hall in London, which is this really neat. It's the old county government building that they've renovated into a really neat hotel, and that's why it's got this whole woody vibe to it. It's right on the main river there in London, in front of the London Eye. Actually, the room I had in this hotel looked right out of the London Eye, that big Ferris wheel at that Marriott. The 17th thing you'll want to do for a great solo trip is you're going to want to take group walking tours. When I say group walking tours, I don't mean guided tours of 5-day bus tours. I mean, in almost every major city in the US, there are tour guides that will offer to meet at a place and take you on a walking tour for a few hours. Regular participant here on the Yellow Productions channel, you've seen me do a few collabs with him. Rob from Trip Hacks DC in Washington DC, he offers guided walking tours of Washington DC. Meet me at this place at this time, and I'll take you around with whoever else wants to show up at that point and show you the city. And you know what? It might cost you a few bucks, but the money you spend on that is well worth the packed information you get in a couple hours. It doesn't kill a whole day. Maybe you meet a few fun people on the tour. You know what? If you're a foodie, you could take a foodie tour, and I'm sure those people would love to meet up for dinner or lunch, maybe tomorrow or the next day. And I would also say another thing you could consider, if you don't like the group walking tours, you don't want the tour guide, you don't want other people, is consider guided audio tours. Rick Steves has some like really good guided audio tours for European cities. We did one in Vienna we really enjoyed. If you're visiting Modesto in California Central Valley, coming up here in about a month for the almond blossoms, you might enjoy the Yellow Productions guided tour of the almond blossoms. If you've been with the channel a long time, you might have heard me talk about this before, but I'm working with this company called Wayfair that does these GPS-based guided audio tours. We've done one of the almond blossoms. We have a couple others in progress for other cities. I've got one coming out for Vegas soon where you'll be able to take Chris with you in the car. I'm just taking you around. You use GPS and I tell you, turn right, turn left, look at this, see this out your window. Pretty neat experience. You know what? And look, I really enjoyed the Rick Steves ones. There was this company called Detour that did these sorts of things, and so I think it's a pretty neat experience. You can take a look at those, and you can do audio tours not just in museums, but actually out as part of your travel experience. And Codge Full of Love says, I don't know why you would visit Modesto unless you were looking to see the almond blossoms. When we did the almond blossom trip, we did the whole California Central Valley. We started in Bakersfield, Visalia, Modesto, Stockton, and then Yolo County, which is just east of Sacramento. And it was pretty neat to spend 5 days just checking out the almond blossoms. I think they're just as pretty as Japan. Nunu says, are there guided audio tours for downtown Los Angeles? I haven't done any yet, but I'm sure if you Googled self-guided audio tour of downtown Los Angeles, I would imagine there's somebody who have done some. The Wayfair app, there is one. I didn't do it there, but they do have one for Hollywood. They've got one for Malibu, and they've got like a space tour to take you around the different space things in LA. And Travel Best Destination says, I am planning Rick Steves' audio guided tour in the next 2 weeks in Madrid, Barcelona, Porto, and Lisbon. Yeah, for sure. And so, the funny thing about those guided tours, and the Rick Steves ones are pretty good, although they don't he doesn't really tell you where to go. You have to go there, and it says press number 5 when you're at the next place. For us, he says hey, allow an hour or 2 hours. When OC Girl and I do it, we take twice as long as Rick Steves says, because we're off taking pictures and doing video, and so just word to the wise is maybe plan a little longer than that. By the way, what's this picture? That was a dog walker on a hiking trail that I was on recently, but I saw a news report that dog walkers in LA and New York City can make $100,000 a year walking dogs. No joke. So it's totally a lucrative industry. All right, and my dad, Electric Rick, here is in the chat, and he says, hey, I got a lot of wonderful ideas. I'm ready to go on my solo trip, but I just don't know where to go. And so perfect timing that we got a picture of my dad for number 18, which is some tips I've got for you about eating when you go on solo trips. So one of the reasons why people don't like to travel by themselves is they don't like to eat at restaurants or eat out by themselves. This is maybe it's a different category, but they kind of conflate together. And don't worry, my dad wasn't eating by himself right here, but it worked well for this picture because I was eating with him too, as well as my mom. We were having a great meal at Din Tai Fung, which you might have seen that video of. But I will say, for me, when I go out solo, I prefer fast casual counter service restaurants to sit-down restaurants. The fancier the restaurant, the little bit weirder it seems to eat there. But related to weird, if you bring a book or you bring something like that, then you don't just have to sit there and stare out into the crowd. You can be on your phone. That's a good place to read your travel book to figure out what you're doing for the next day. I will say, as a solo traveler, I've had some really interesting conversations eating by myself at restaurants, either with the people next to me or when I'm seated at the bar, at the tables next to me, or with the people who work at the restaurant. So just because you're by yourself doesn't mean you can't talk to other people that are there. Obviously, it depends on the place and the time and how you're eating, but restaurants that have communal tables or bars are often a lot better for having some chit-chat than ones that are sit-down formal restaurants. And now I will say though, when you're going out for restaurants, avoid the restaurants that have the menu in like 13 different languages, including English, Japanese, Spanish, and whatever. We had our worst travel meal ever in Venice, Italy at one of those restaurants. And I'm pretty sure the lasagna I ordered, they just microwaved, and I felt very sad about it. And Ramen Goated says, where is your favorite Din Tai Fung restaurant? Well, this one is the one in San Diego at the UTC Mall in La Jolla. My favorite one is the original in Taipei, Taiwan. It's a 3-story restaurant that's just super cool. The 20th tip for traveling solo is if you're going places at night, which you will be eventually, if you're going places at night, because nighttime, it comes every day, right, is to stay in well-lit areas with lots of people. If it looks sketchy, avoid it. Figure out what time most of the shops and restaurants close at your destination and go back to your hotel by then. It's good to head back to your hotel before the streets are a ghost town and all the shops roll up their carpets and roll down their garage doors and put their locks on. And go to sleep early and wake up early. Early morning hours are usually safer than late night ones. And my mom always told me that nothing good really happens after midnight. And this picture, somebody says that I skipped 19. I skipped 19. I'll come back to 19. Thank you. I'm glad somebody's counting. I skipped 19 because my 19 wasn't bolded. All right. Where is this picture? This picture is coming in for a landing into John Wayne Orange County Airport on Southwest Airlines. And so that's looking out over Orange County, California, home to Disneyland at night. All right. Where'd 19 go? Oh. 19. I didn't put the picture in for 19, so that's probably why I skipped 19. All right, 19 is to take cooking classes. We've done this in Korea. We've done this in Thailand. We've done it in a lot of places, and it's an activity that you can do. Like most cooking classes that are offered for tourists are usually like a 2 to 4 hour thing. And actually on the live stream, when we did one in Thailand, we did it with Jake McShane when he joined us in Thailand. And it was a lot of fun to like learn how to cook Thai dishes, like learn how to cook the curries, learn how to make the coconut milk. You're with other people there. You can talk to them. You can see how they're doing it. And so cooking classes are a great way to be engaged in activity, connect with the locals who teach the cooking classes, and then connect with some of the other travelers that are there in the cooking class. And, unlike going to a bar or something like that, where like it's a forced mingle, being in a cooking class is definitely not a forced mingle because you're working on an activity together. All right. And Kathy says she's not a fan of cooking. You know what? I'm not a fan of cooking either. I don't like to cook. Neither does OC Girl. But the cooking classes were fun because, particularly in Thailand, because we just got to learn how the dishes were made. Like, oh, that's why this tastes like this. Like, taste this. This is how this is grown. And so you might find that interesting, even if you don't like cooking. All right. The 21st thing for a really awesome solo trip is to ask for help. If you're really lost, ask for help. You could certainly ask for help at a information center. There's no extra points for being self-sufficient. You've got nobody to embarrass but yourself, and it's much better to proactively ask for help than wait for somebody to ask if you need help, because that's actually going to bring us to 22. And by the way, that was in Seoul. 22, which is to be a skeptic of people when you're out and about in foreign destinations to you, and these people just seem too helpful. Particularly unsolicited help on the sidewalk or in the train station, really not the kind of help you want. You probably also don't want to go into the business, bar, or destination that people on the street are asking you to come into. This picture right here, a classic destination in Bangkok, Thailand, where, right, they're just standing here, come get a massage. And obviously, maybe it's not so bad because you're getting a massage right there, but the people who say like, hey, come get a massage. I'm going to take you to my massage parlor around the corner and up the stairs and down in the basement. You want nothing to do with that. G says, especially in Rome, they try to give you a rose or a bracelet. Yeah, that's one where they try to give you something for free. I have a gift for you. And then you take it, and then, of course, they want money. And Jake McShane adds in and says, I agree, the cooking class was fun and I don't really like to cook either. There you go. Thank you for that, Jake. It's not just me. Cooking class was fun. Yeah, and Jake likes to eat out probably as much as we do, so fantastic. And Ramen Goated says massage shops in Thailand are just a scam. There are a lot of scams there. And Tatiana says, how do you know if someone's trying to fool you? That one is not easy because you hope people are friendly. Yeah, I hope people are friendly, but, you know, I would say, like, I like to trust people, but I also like to verify what they're telling me. And so just, you know, if it sounds too good to be true, it's often too good to be true. All right. 23. The 23rd thing you should do if you're traveling by yourself, particularly if you like to take photos, is to have some plan for how you're going to take photos of yourself if that's what you like to do. You know what? You can just hold your phone and take your selfies with your phone. Even better, bring a selfie stick or a gimbal with selfie mode. I've been doing that a lot lately. I've got the DJI OM6 gimbal that has an extendable selfie stick part of it, and so it goes out just enough to take some great selfies for all these very vain thumbnails that I take. If you are going to ask somebody to take photos of you, ask a couple. Particularly one with a baby, because they're not going to run off with your phone. They go really slow because they've got a baby. Or ask somebody else that already has like a big camera around their neck. You know, if they've got like a big DSLR camera, removable lens camera around their neck, ask them to take a picture of you. They've already got a camera. They probably don't want to steal yours. And I'd recommend not asking people to take pictures of you with your phone. Because again, if they steal your phone or they drop your phone or something happens to it, really sucks to be you. Instead, bring a point and shoot camera and just have them take it. I really like the Sony ZV-1. I use it for video too. It's a small point and shoot camera with an extendable lens. Very easy for people to know how to easily take a picture of you. Or you can also bring a tripod too. Yeah, Brandon says this is a picture of a tripod, but it's more than just a picture of a tripod. It is a picture of a crap tripod. That's right. Yeah, so I ordered Ulanzi carbon fiber tripod, and they're like, oh, anybody who orders these tripods gets this one for free, because this was supposed to be the crab tripod, and apparently due to a printing error, the boxes all said crap tripods. And so they're like, well, we can't sell these things. And so they just gave them away for free. The 24th thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to share your itinerary with others. You know what? We always hear stories about people disappearing when they're on travel. They're in the Bahamas or they're in the Bermuda Triangle and nobody knows where they went. And so with your loved ones, share where you're going to go. Share where you're going to be. Between OC Girl and I, we like to use the Life 360 app, which has location sharing all the time. So she knows where I am, I know where she is, and you might think it's a little bit Big Brother-ish, but it's been really helpful for us just to be like, hey, where are you? Or you're not answering my phone. Where are you? Like, oh, you're out and about. You're still moving. All those sorts. Oh, you're on your way back to the hotel, or things like that. And by the way, what is this picture right here? This was the picture at a residence in breakfast buffet I went to where they helped with your itinerary to tell you the best time to come for breakfast is between 7 and 7:30. It's green. If you come from 7:30 to 8:30, it's busy. And if you come from 8:30 till breakfast closing, it's bad. It's red. I like places that do that to be like, don't come for breakfast at this hour because you won't find a place to eat. The 25th thing to help you with a good solo trip is to be careful when you're drinking alcoholic beverages. Don't get wasted if you're going out by yourself. It's just not safe, because if you're wasted, you don't know where you are, you pass out. Just bad things happen when you've had too much to drink when you're by yourself. Save that for party time with the bros, with the ladies, with your wingmen or wing ladies. And ladies, definitely watch your drinks. Don't drink anything that you've taken your eye off of. You can totally take your drink to the restroom with you when you need to go. Don't leave it to sit there on the table. And if you're at a bar, get your own drink from the bar. Don't let somebody get you a drink and give it to you, because you don't know what has been put into that drink. By the way, I don't drink beer. Like, I don't drink a lot. I do drink beer. I like Japanese beer on draft. Our little princess, she likes apple juice. That's what she's got right there. The 26th tip, we're getting to the end because I got 27 of these, and then we'll do some Q&A, and then I'll give away the suitcase, which is start early. Like, if you're going to Disneyland, if you're going to a theme park, the best time to get to these places is right when they open. And when you're with a group of people, it's hard to get everybody up and out of bed all at the same time and motivated. But boy, when you're by yourself, one of the previous tips was to get to your hotel room early at night so that you can start early in the next day. Start at sunrise, watch the sunrise, whole different landscape. I've enjoyed walking around London at 5 a.m., Hong Kong at 5 a.m. It's kind of neat to see a city or a place as they wake up. And the great part about if you start your day early at hotels, you saw that one, which was the breakfast wait was not much early in the morning. I like hotel breakfasts. I like to get to the hotel breakfast right when they open. So when I was in Sydney, Australia, and I was staying at the Hyatt Regency Sydney, what time is breakfast open? 6 a.m. What time am I at breakfast? 6 a.m. for breakfast. Because then what time do I get lunch? Like 11 a.m. or 11:30 a.m. before the lunch rush from everybody else. What time do I get dinner? 5 p.m. before the dinner rush from everybody else. I'm not waiting in lines. And if I'm the only, I take up a table at a sit-down restaurant, I don't mind, because I feel like I'm not taking it up from a whole bunch of people, because I'm there and out before the hordes or the mob scenes get there. All right. My last tip specifically focuses on women. These are some tips from OC Girl, particularly talking about safety and harassment. And why is there a pink train here? We'll get to that in just a moment. But OC Girl and I, we obviously travel a lot together, but she also travels a lot by herself, since we've been married and before we were married. So, her tips for the ladies specifically: one, when you're chatting with new friends that you meet on travel, it might be best not to share too loudly that you're traveling alone. You might trust them, but that doesn't mean you trust everybody else who might be listening to your conversation. You can totally be traveling with your husband, boyfriend, family, etc. If you need to get out of a situation, you can totally say, hey, I'm meeting my parents here any minute now, bye, and just leave. And if you're worried about getting hit on, you can totally wear a fake wedding ring too. Don't share with people what hotel you're staying at. They don't need to know. Take a look at what the locals wear when you're in a destination. Try to dress similarly to avoid calling out attention to yourself. If you think you're being followed by anybody, go into a store, restaurant, hotel, or police station if there's one nearby. If you're going to a hotel, chat up the people at the hotel at the front desk. Wait until they leave, or ask the front desk staff to call a taxi for you. Many bars will do the same thing. If a situation's getting sketchy, leave before it gets too sketchy. Learn to say no in the local language, and be willing and forceful with it. Beware of what country you're going to, because unfortunately not every country is friendly to women. It's not right, but it's a fact. And if it makes you feel better, carry some sort of self-defense mechanism. You should look up which ones are legal in the destinations you're going to. You might not be able to take pepper spray with you everywhere, and make sure if you do that it's also legal on the mode of transport that you're going on. Now, this picture in Japan is for the women-only cars. If you go to Japan and you're in rush hour on the trains, take a look out for the women-only cars, which are typically pink. Japanese men are known to be particularly gropey at rush hour, and so they have cars specifically for women that are the women-only cars. Now, OC Girl says, ladies, don't let all of this discourage you. It may seem like no fun at first after you've listened to all of this, but she is sure you'll find plenty of ways to enjoy yourself. In fact, she guarantees it, or your money back on this video. And she did know that there's no charge for this video. All right, great. Fellow explorers, it is now Q&A time. If you've got a question, I've got an answer. All right, so let's take a few questions, and then I'll give away the level 8 suitcase. Elegance with Alfredo says, where did you get your customs t-shirts? I get them printed at Printful is where I get my custom t-shirts. And Kat says, with the fake wedding ring, I got hit on more when I had a fake wedding ring. That is strange, Kat. That's very strange. And Esther says the women-only cars are usually first or last cars on the train. Yeah, there's usually also markings on the platform that'll tell you where those stop. Points Traveler says, would you ever review a Love Hotel in Japan? Sure. I've not spent the money to do that. I'd probably do it just as a one to make a video. But if I'm taking a solo trip to Japan in the future, then I may do that. Shan says, are the women-only cars only available during rush hours? Generally, they're only available during certain times of the day because at other times the trains aren't that busy, so it's not a huge issue. Rob asks if I'm part of any travel clubs. I'm not sure what a travel club is, so I guess not. Jake says, one thing I like to do when on a solo trip is join a food tour run by locals. That way you end up eating great places tourists don't usually go, and you don't have to eat alone. Thank you for that tip, Jake. Heather says, ladies should only order beer and open it themselves and keep a finger in it all the time when not drinking. I have too many clients that have been drugged by bartenders in nice hotels. Great tip, Heather. Diane says, the overpass is okay in Vegas to use at night. I think so. I mean, the overpasses are the only ways to get between hotels at night, and I've not been out on the strip at say like 4 a.m, but at least till like 1 a.m, I've found the overpasses are safe to use because there's so many people around the Las Vegas Strip all the time. Corey says, did you find Bangkok relatively safe? From a harm perspective, yes. From a people trying to scam me perspective, no. And if you haven't watched my video on Bangkok scams, do check that out. That will give you more. Alex asks if I've been to, this is probably the Azores in Portugal. Not yet. I've been to, Lisbon, Porto, and a few places in between. If you search for Yellow Productions Portugal, you'll find what's there. B says, do you recommend Cairo? And the scroll off my screen. But no, I don't recommend Egypt. There's a video done by what's the channel name? Like the Great Food Review Show, Best Food Review Show, something like that. Anyway, he went to Egypt and they at the airport, they confiscated all of his video gear. And so I would not recommend Egypt if you like cameras. Helen says it's a pretty safe solo national parks in California. I think so because, national parks have like a gate, like a checkpoint. There's only so many entrances and so many exits, and there's park rangers, and so I think the national parks are pretty safe solo. You might feel creepy camping at them, but certainly in the daytime hours, I mean, they're so busy and there's so many people that it's all good. Points Trailer says, what country is the least safe you feel you've been to? Here's it's like a perception thing, which is, I feel like when I was in Naples, Italy, it felt the least safe. And I don't think it's because it wasn't safe, but Naples, Italy, they were having like a garbage strike when I was there. And so there was trash all over the city. And so it just felt like, I don't know that I was going to get mugged, but I felt like I was going to step on something sharp or something because there was all this trash everywhere. If you haven't seen my video, search for it, Naples, Italy, the city of trash is what I called it. And Sleepy says, yes, the name of that channel was the Best Ever Good Review Show. Best Ever Good Food Review Show. I think there's a food in there too or something like that. All right. And Jake says, Afghanistan is by far the least safe I've been. Yes, I've not been to Afghanistan, so I can't claim that one on my list.
Yes, it's the time you've been waiting for. It's time for the giveaway.
All right, fellow explorers, so thanks to Level 8 for sponsoring the giveaway on this live stream. Today I'll be giving away the Level 8 Voyager check-in suitcase, which if you haven't seen, I've done a review on this one before. I can't guarantee the color. They'll send the ones that they have available at the time, but I did review a neat yellow one. And so this contest is open to residents of the US, Europe, and Canada because that's where they have these suitcases to ship out. And by the way, so that's who it's open to. If you win and you're not from there, well, then I'm sorry, I can't ship you a suitcase because it's not I'm not shipping it to you. Level 8 is going to ship it directly to you from their warehouse. All right. So the question is, I showed a map earlier. I showed a map from a shopping mall. What was the name of that shopping mall? If you're the first person to answer that question in the chat correctly, you will win this suitcase right here. Now, if you're wondering when the next live stream is, head over to update.yellow-productions.com. You can sign up for the email list where you'll be the first to know when I do a live stream and what the topic is going to be. There will not be one next week. Next week, in the place of this live stream time, I'll be putting out my guide to the best Japanese onsen hotels that I've stayed at, and as long as an hour long. So you'll have a good live stream time, even though it won't be live. And if you want to pick up any Yellow Production shirts or merch, head over to the Yellow Productions shop right there.
And now we have a winner chicken dinner.
Congratulations, Cottage Full of Love. You are the first person to answer the Lab, which is, yes, the name of that shopping mall that had that really interesting map. And who's in second place? It was Slyman, El Jamal. And third place was kind of close, Travel Best Destinations, but unfortunately one case. So Cottage Full of Love, it goes to you. Send me an email to chris@yellow-productions.com. You'll find the link to that in the description, and I'll get that suitcase headed out right to y'all. By the way, if any of you want to pick up a level 8 suitcase, you've seen my reviews of it in the description. There's a code for 10% off that they're offering for viewers of Yellow Productions. Well, as usual, fellow explorers, it was super great hanging out with y'all today. And I won't say goodbye because I'm going to see you in the next video.